All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on an absolute corporate nightmare. We're going to walk through a real-world ransomware attack from the perspective of the security leader who had to fight it. So let's break down exactly what went down step by terrifying step. You know, that's not just some dramatic line to scare you. For any modern business, it's a fact of life. The threat is always there. And as you're about to see, being ready for it, that's everything. So let's meet our protagonist. Her name is Megan. She's the Chief Information Security Officer, the CISO, at a huge company we're just going to call Big Co. And for her, it happened in the dead of night. I mean, can you imagine getting that call? You're jolted awake, and it is not a simple server outage. No. The voice on the other end of the line confirms your absolute worst fear. Huge chunks of the company's network are just gone. They're dark. And the scary part? The attack isn't over. It's happening right now. And then the first report comes in, and it is just devastating. We're talking the entire headquarters network down. 3 of their 5 major data centers offline. But it's those last 2 bullet points that really turn this from a crisis into a full-blown catastrophe. The attackers have locked up the crown jewels, the human resources data, and, even worse, the customer's personally identifiable information. Okay, so in a situation like this, the first few minutes, they are absolutely critical. What Megan does right now will decide if they can contain this thing or if it's going to burn the whole company to the ground. This is where her training just takes over. No panic, just decisive, methodical steps, the kind you drill for over and over. First thing, isolate the sick parts of the network. Build a digital firewall to stop the ransomware from spreading any further. Next, literally start unplugging infected machines from the wall. You gotta cut off the attacker's access. And finally, get all the IT and security leadership on an emergency call. When the house is on fire, everybody needs to be on the same page, like yesterday. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting. It's this mix of good news and bad news. The bad news is, it's a gut punch. The ransomware got their online backups, too. But, and this is a big but, the good news shows where their planning actually worked. Remember those old-school offline disaster recovery backups? Totally safe. And that brand new EDR software they just started rolling out, it actually worked. It protected the few areas where it was installed. This is such a perfect example of how investing in security before the crisis can literally save your bacon. So the immediate fire has been contained, but believe me, this fight is a long way from over, because now comes the really tricky part, the direct confrontation with the hackers themselves. And the stakes? Well, they're about to go through the roof. And then the demand drops. A single chilling message. $10 million. All payable in Bitcoin, of course, so it's untraceable. And right there, in that moment, this whole thing shifts from a technical problem to a high-stakes hostage negotiation. The company's data, its reputation, it's all hanging by a thread. And this right here is a perfect look at why paying the ransom is even a consideration. See, modern ransomware gangs, they're smart. They don't just lock your data anymore. That's old school. No. First, they steal it. It's a tactic called double extortion. This is an actual post from a group called Revil, and you can see they're threatening to leak or sell all the victims' data if they don't get paid. Yeah, and the FBI was brought in to consult, and an agent, we'll call him Agent Smith, he just lays out the grim reality of it. He says the more sensitive the data that are exfiltrated are, then the more likely Big Co will pay the ransom. The hackers know exactly what they've got. They went straight for the most sensitive stuff to give themselves maximum leverage. It's all about making sure they get that payday. And the attackers have another ace up their sleeve, government regulations. They know that if they leak all that customer data, Big Co is going to face absolutely massive fines under laws like GDPR. We're talking up to 4% of their global annual revenue. So they cleverly use the threat of a, say, $100 million fine to make their $10 million ransom look like the cheaper option. It's twisted, but it's brilliant. So you're probably asking the same thing I was. How on earth did this happen? How did the bad guys just waltz past all of Big Co's defenses? To figure that out, we gotta rewind the tape and trace their exact steps. Okay, so the way they got in, it was through something super common. It's called RDP, which stands for Remote Desktop Protocol. You've probably used it. It's just a way for IT folks to connect to and control another computer over the network. Super useful, right? But here's the catch. If you don't lock it down properly, it is literally like leaving the front door of your entire company network wide open with a welcome mat outside. And here's the crazy part. Finding that open door is shockingly easy. Attackers use these publicly available search engines. This one's called Census, and they just scan the entire internet for vulnerable computers. Seriously, this isn't some super sophisticated movie-style hacking. It's more like using Google to find a list of every house in the world with an unlocked door. And just look at the scale of this problem. A single search, one search, for open RDP ports turns up almost 5 million potentially exposed devices. For a ransomware gang, that is a gold mine. It's what they call a target-rich environment. They don't need to break into every house. They just need to find one with a weak lock. So here's the modern ransomware playbook, step by step. First, they get in through that open RDP door. Step 2, they move silently through the network, like ghosts, just exploring and looking for the good stuff, the high-value data. Once they find it, step 3, they steal it. They copy it all out to their own servers. It's only then, after they have the data safely in their hands, that they pull the trigger. That's step 4. They unleash the ransomware to lock up all the files. And finally, the ransomware itself is designed to spread like a virus to other machines, just causing as much chaos as possible. This diagram really pulls the whole thing together. So let's just walk through it. See number 1? That's the initial break-in. It could be RDP, like in our story, or a phishing email, whatever. Then, look at number 2. The attacker hops from that first computer to a really important internal server. From there, this is number 3, they start shipping the valuable data out of the company network to a server they control on the internet. And it's only after they've stolen everything they want that the final stage begins. That's number 4. They push the ransomware back into the network and start encrypting everything. It's a really methodical, multi-stage attack. Seeing it laid out like this, it just shows you how sophisticated these criminals have become. So, wow, after walking through that absolute nightmare scenario, you're probably wondering, how does this story end? And maybe more importantly, what can the rest of us actually learn from what happened to Big Co? Well, the good news, and it is very good news, is that after a few grueling, sleepless days, and yes, a negotiated ransom payment, Big Co got 100% of its data back, a full recovery. And that was only possible because of a combination of things: their quick response, having those critical offline backups, and bringing in the right experts to help. But here's the most important part. They didn't just recover and go back to business as usual. No way. They rebuilt their entire fortress from the ground up. That EDR software that worked so well, they rolled it out to every single computer. They implemented something called network segmentation, which is basically building digital walls inside your network, so if one part gets infected, it can't spread everywhere. They got deadly serious about patching vulnerabilities. And of course, they made darn sure those offline backups were tested and ready to go. You see, these aren't just one-off fixes. These are the building blocks for real, lasting security. And of course, they had to slam shut the exact door the attackers walked through. They totally overhauled how they handle RDP. This here is a great little roadmap for anyone. The basic stuff is non-negotiable. You have to use two-factor authentication, and you have to limit who has admin powers. A step up from that, the moderate level, is using what's called a jump station. Basically one super secure computer that everyone has to log into first before they can jump to other servers. It creates a nice little bottleneck you can control. And for the really advanced setup, you'd implement a full-on privileged access management or PAM solution. Think of that like a digital vault for your most powerful admin accounts that watches and records everything. The point is, there are levels to this. But as Big Co learned the hard way, the one thing you can't do is nothing. So we followed Megan straight through the fire, from that awful 3 a.m. phone call all the way to a full recovery. It's an incredible story, right? A story about crisis, but also about resilience. And it really just leaves us all with one final, pretty critical question to think about. If this happened at your company, right now, who would be your first call?